And back to some local news tonight. Many colorful characters have called our desert home over the last century. But one in particular is said to have inspired a hit song and influenced youth culture several years after his death. Our Steve Sumrall explains in tonight's edition of Our Desert Past.
There was a boy.
It's called Nature Boy, and it was originally recorded by Nat King Cole and released in 1948.
He wandered very far, very far.
And if it sounds familiar to you, that's probably because since its release, it has been covered by a countless number of recording artists, from Frank Sinatra.
They say he wandered very far.
To David Bowie.
And then one day.
To Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga.
This, he said to me. This he said to me.
And if you'd like to trace the origins of this Nat King Cole classic and you're in Palm Springs, well, you don't have to look very far. It's inspired by a local colorful character. His name was William Pester. He was born in 1885 in Borna, Saxon, Germany, where he apprenticed as a stonemason. At the age of 21, he left his homeland to avoid military service.
I know that he was European and that he lived up in Palm Canyon, kind of where the visitor center is, where the trading post is. Right at the end of that road was pretty much where he lived.
His love of the desert would eventually lead him here, to Palm Springs Tahquitz Canyon. As a naturalist, Pester rejected the industrialization of 1920 society and believed that it was in man's best interest to return to nature.
But he built his own house up there, his own little structure out of palm fronds and that kind of stuff.
As an entrepreneur, he made and sold walking sticks from palm blossom stalks, sold postcards which featured his tips for healthy living, and he would charge people 10 cents to look through a telescope as he lectured them about astronomy. Branded as the Palm Springs Hermit, it didn't take long for Pester to attract curious visitors. Pester's biographer, Peter T. Wilde, stated that tourists by the hundreds park their Tin Lizzies, a term for Model T Fords, along the sandy road into Palm Canyon to visit the hermit-turned-showman.
He would just be seen, and with very little clothes he was seen.
Pester would indulge in the nudist lifestyle, choosing to wear clothes when he was around people, and during those times he wore little as possible.
He was a musician too. You know, that because a lot of the pictures we have, he's got a guitar.
Such as in this photograph, which he shares with screen legend Rudolph Valentino. Several celebrities of that era have been known to spend time with William Pester. Such notable figures as Western novelist Zane Grey and a singer-songwriter known as Eden Aubie. Aubie was another long-haired, bearded individual who was a member of the California Nature Boys, a group who shared many of Pester's philosophies and gained notoriety after being mentioned by Beat Generation author Jack Kerouac in his novel On the Road. It was Aubie who penned the song Nature Boy. Pester would leave the desert sometime during the late 30s or early 40s. After spending some time in Los Angeles, he would marry and move to Arizona, where he died in 1963 at the age of 78. In the years following his death, the country would see the rise of the hippie culture, a movement which may have been directly influenced by this nature boy, who remains an interesting part of our desert past. Steve Sumrall, NBC Palm Springs.